Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Substitute Scoop. My name is Jamie West, and I am the Executive Director of the Substitute Management Advisory Council. And on today's episode, I'm interviewing Sofia Alvarez, who is the Substitute Manager of the Year for the 2025-2026 school year. So welcome, Sofia, to the Substitute Scoop. We are so excited to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here too.
Awesome. So, we're going to talk a little bit today about the amazing things that got you where you are, and a little more about your district. So, before we get started, tell me a little bit about Glenbrook High School District 225 in the state of Illinois.
Sure. Glenbrook High School District 225. Well, we're in Glenview, Illinois, and we service about 5,000 students or so. We don't have about, we have five buildings. Um, we have two Glenbrook North and Glenbrook South High School. We have Glenbrook Off Campus, which is our therapeutic school, and we have Glenbrook Transition Services, which is obviously our transition services for students from 18 to 22 years of age. And then we have our administration building. So there are five buildings total here. We're located just outside Chicago in the northwest suburbs, about 30 minutes or so. And it's actually an incredible place to be and to work at. It is been recognized several times as one of the best places to teach, one of the best school districts to be at through the niche ratings. So it's quite the honor to be part of such a spectacular team. We do, like I said, we do service about 5,000 students. So we have about 937, I believe is what we counted, staff members, both certified and non-certified staff. So with that said, obviously the substitutes play a big role in our
Hmm.
community too. But we average about 120 to 130 substitutes through one school year that we would need so that our teachers and staff members can take time as they need to.
I love that. And you know what's amazing about what you do is you talked about everyone in the school district and the amazing things that you guys do and the buildings you have and the students and the staff, but you also include those substitutes. And that's obviously what we're here about talking about today. So obviously working in HR, we all know we wear many hats in HR, you especially. You are always wearing so many hats, you're doing a lot of different things, being pulled in a lot of different directions. So tell me a little more about the systems that you have implemented in your role as an HR specialist and those how those systems help the day-to-day processes and just make things easier for you.
Sure. Well, I have to tell you first that I have been in this position now. I think I'm in my fourth year right now. And it is quite the learning curve,
Mhm.
especially those first 2 years, because I had minimal HR experience.
Mhm.
I was the executive assistant to this department. And then when the opportunity came up to move into this role, I was able to go ahead and attain it. But the reason I bring that up is because those first 2 years was just a lot of learning and a lot of creating processes and figuring things out, not just for our subs, but in general.
Mhm.
But then specifically for our subs, right? It's this group that so many people depend on. And for the most part, one of us is kind of managing them all to come in. So, I was lucky to have a great director and with her coaching we were able to figure out like what do we need to do to not just streamline the process but to also get the best qualified subs we can find and also make it a great experience for them and
Mhm.
want to come back, right? All of those things in one meeting we were going to solve. But we did come up with a plan, and so it's starting to create as early as the application process,
Mhm.
right? How can we make this better for them? How can, and as well as help us on our end, right? So initially, we just did we created the application online and moved in that direction, like all other applicants. But then we also added screening video application part of the application, so they had to answer a couple of questions, which is also very telling, about the staff or the candidate, it's him or herself. So that was very helpful because then I literally would sit there and I would listen to all of their answers and
Mhm.
be able to see, great, this is great feedback, or, we love to hear what they've done in the past and things of that nature. So that was very good. And it helped then the screening process go a little faster, a little bit more thorough also, and then started the onboarding process. Now, that process is what it is. It's a lot of paperwork collecting
Mhm.
and a lot just kind of waiting around for background checks. So there's only so much we can do on that part. But then the other area that we improved on was our orientation. We initially did everything in person, which I personally loved because, I get to work on them when I'm with them, when I'm onboarding them, getting to know them. But then they come in again, and then we got to guide them and just tell them all about the details of the job and just safety and security and all of these, payroll would be there. Just present everything that we think they would need to know. But it did get quite cumbersome because it would pull me out of the office several times throughout the
Mhm.
month and so forth. But we didn't want to lose the orientation piece because it's so important. So we moved to an online platform. And I just created a video, I guess, or a PowerPoint in essence, and just laid it all out for them. And initial our first year went well, and everybody was able to complete it. But then I would go and learn more from our current subs, like just getting feedback from their days and what's been going on just in general in the district. And at least I recognized that there were pieces maybe that were missing.
Mhm.
So aside from just the daily activity that you have to do as a sub, was like, what about classroom management? What if like you've never been in the classroom? So it's like, all right, we need to give them a little guidance on how to better manage a class. How do you deal with difficult or challenging situations, conversations? How do you redirect? Little things that, unless you actually do the job, you
Mhm.
don't realize what's missing, right?
Mhm.
Um, so that's where the presentation itself got even a little bit more deeper. We included links to outside resources so they can learn more because not all of our subs are retired teachers or previous teachers. They could be sometimes they're students, at the colleges. Sometimes they are community members.
Mhm.
So it was good just to be able to add that type of dialogue into our presentation.
I love
Mhm.
that. One of the things that you just mentioned that I have yet to hear on the Substitute Scoop was someone who's implemented videos or candidates submitting videos during their application
Yeah.
process. What made you go that direction? Did you miss that
Mhm.
conversational piece? What made you feel like you that this would be beneficial for subs?
Well, I think that what happened was, previous to doing that, the first time I would meet an applicant was at my desk, right? When I was practically onboarding them, at that point. And when you read about someone on a piece of paper versus or on a screen, so different than when you meet them in person or they're in dialogue. So that's we had been doing that for our teachers and for our non-certified positions, and thought like, well, here's an opportunity to also screen this group that plays such an important role,
Mhm.
in our district, that we need to meet them or see them before we bring them in. So that's really what was the big push for doing the video and part of the application process.
I love that. I think that also gives you can see too in a video somebody takes of themselves. You can see if they're confident. You can see what their speaking capabilities are, their engagement, and just
Yes.
their overall attitude before
Yeah.
you even get through the interview process, essentially. So I think
Yes.
that is a great idea. So if anyone takes
Yeah.
that away today, I would love to hear how you're implementing that in districts across the country. I think that's fantastic. One of the other things
Yeah.
that you mentioned is your very detailed orientation process. And that brings me to another topic that you and I have discussed offline is that key component of professional development and giving those subs opportunities to become better substitutes, whether they want to become full-time teachers or not. So, what are some
Mhm.
other things besides the detailed orientation process that you have opportunities for your subs in your district?
I'd have to say that that is probably the one area that I feel that we can grow in, you know, because yes, the online orientation is very helpful and it serves as a great resource. And of course, we have like our handbook for our
Mhm.
subs that they can refer to for anything they may need. And then if they have any tech issues, they can always go to our tech services, you know, they will help them out. But in regards to an opportunity to professional development as we know it, that is one area that we definitely can work on.
Mhm.
Um, I will have to say though that I think that working as a daily sub, it helps you to see the school from the other perspective, right? At least that helped. I know at one point I had to thinking like was thinking like, wow, okay, I have to think of schools like they're also a business, right? So they must have all these other branches that support the teachers and the students and everything. And sometimes when we think of schools, we just think of students and teachers and support staff, you know. But daily subs, it's so neat to be able to go into a classroom, yes, to work as a teacher, to serve as a instructional assistant, but you can sub also as one of our clerical positions or in the library. And I think as a safety and security staff member, and I think sometimes when you see that, then you start to see like all the different roles that exist within a school that maybe you never thought of before, and
Mhm.
then you can grow into. So aside from having some of our subs move into maybe pursuing a teaching degree or becoming an instructional assistant because we've had quite a few that move in that direction. I just onboarded somebody who became an administrative assistant who was a
Mhm.
daily sub, which is really cool, you know?
Yeah.
So I think though there is no set format for professional development for our subs, I think just the exposure to the different roles that do exist within a school district is actually really neat. And
Mhm.
some of our subs have taken on to apply to different positions and are now in those roles.
I love that. This episode of the Substitute Scoop is brought to you by Red Rover, a modern human capital management solution built for K 12 school districts. From hiring and onboarding to time tracking, absence management, and professional development management, Red Rover helps districts work smarter, stay connected, and keep classrooms covered. Learn more at redroverk12.com. When I came to your district, which I feel like now it's been a month, but this January when I came and I met you and surprised you with the Substitute Manager of the Year award with the help of Red Rover, with the help of your superintendent keeping secrets from you, and it was just such a fun, planned out surprise. They had nothing but great things to say about you. So I learned a lot
Mm.
about you before I even put a face to the name. I didn't even know what you looked like when you walked in the room. I was like, which one am I supposed to surprise? I don't know who she is. Um, but just the community that you have built from where you sit is, I think, what makes you so special. And I think that's something that says a lot for a substitute manager because you are, and your superintendent did tell me this, a lot of times you are the first one to arrive and the last to leave in that building, in that district office. And that's a lot of people to be first and to be last, right? So it's just it speaks volumes that people in the higher up director, superintendent type roles can see the impact that you're making from the seat that you sit in because of your dedication to your substitute pool, not because of data on a spreadsheet and not because of the number of people that you talk to in a day, but because of the difference that you're making in the culture that you're embedding in your community. So, I just want to say huge shout out to your amazing HR team for nominating you for the Substitute Manager of the
Yes.
Year. So I do want to ask, since you were surprised in January with this amazing award for 2026, how has life changed for you? Do you feel
Well, you
famous
know,
now?
it yeah, I know, right? I have to tell you one funny thing. So after the symposium, I
Mhm.
think it was, right? And I said what I said. I went home and was talking to my husband, and he said that so and so from the school district said that you did a good job today. And I was like, who? Wait, what are you talking about? How does he know? He's like, well, he was there. And it's just the connections, right? It was like my husband is also, he works at a local high school, not the Glenbrooks, and he is also a chess coach. And so this specific staff member was also the chess coach, and that's how they connected.
Mhm.
And he also works in HR and was at the symposium. So I think it's funny like that those types of connections were made,
Mhm.
and then when I went to IASPA, I was, so many people congratulated me, which I was so surprised at. I shouldn't be surprised, I guess. It is Red Rover after all, But, but I was surprised that they would even recognize me,
Mhm.
after just seeing me in the video. And I thought that was very kind and very sweet of them to reach out. And the emails are always wonderful. But, it just makes you think about what's been nice is just made me think about, I guess, there was some work that was put into that role but I just enjoy it. I
Mhm.
really didn't, I do enjoy working with the people that we onboard and no matter what position they're in, but the subs are special. They are a special group because they
Mhm.
do service so many people. So, but yeah, I'm not sure if it's really changed that much, but it definitely has put things into perspective, which is really nice.
Which is amazing, absolutely amazing. One thing I do want to mention before we start wrapping up is I know you've improved culture and you've created connections where there were none between subs and schools and district and being a sub coordinator and also the students and the professional development and all the different pieces. You have put a lot of those puzzle pieces together and recognizing your subs and making them feel special is something that you guys also do in your district. Do you have any recognition programs in place or anything that you'd like to share about any spotlights or stories with your substitutes that you think are just amazing and you have in place in your district?
Um, Ooh, that's a good question.
Hmm.
So you're asking me like specifically with our subs recognitions
Yeah.
that we've done?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if you have any,
Um,
like, substitutes of the year programs, if you ever, maybe you're doing an orientation for them and you give them a free gift, or the schools
yes.
encourage them to wear
Mhm.
their swag on campus and different things like that.
Yes. The one thing I have to say that, yes, we would always have like these little welcome gifts, I guess,
Mhm,
for them when they would come to orientation, they'll pick it up. And they were always so grateful for the smallest gestures. It's so nice, right? Or just even, welcoming our substitutes, just making the general statement. I think that they appreciate the smallest gestures. But that's like the pros and the cons here because when you move to online, you don't get to do that anymore, right? You don't get to give that little gift or that little welcome. So you do have to stretch into the buildings, right?
mhm.
And you do have to end of the year make sure that we have something set up for them, whether it's just those um, not what do you call those little bundt cakes? Those mini
Yes.
bundt cakes that they nice for everybody so the subs can come down and pick one up as a thank you for all
Mhm,
of their, just a small gesture. But also, right, it's like what you were saying, this culture that we build with our administrative assistants who play such a huge role in their in instance in every time that they come into our buildings. As long as I can communicate with them and just, remind them like, hey, just remind to say thank you. Or,
mhm,
so that we just onboarded this new sub who, happens to be endorsed in your area, just FYI, because then they get excited, right? And then that excitement trickles to the sub. So
mhm.
sometimes it's not like obvious, although obvious is always really nice. Um, I also think that if it's through other staff members, it's great. And then, of course, at the end, we always send them an end of the year thank you
Mhm,
note, and then just it includes things for the following year, but just making them sure that they know that we appreciate all of the work that they do. Because really, sometimes, like I mentioned, it is like on the spot request, and someone's always willing to step up. So
yeah.
just making sure that they get something at least at the end of the year.
I love that, I love that. So, this kind of wraps up the substitute scoop. I am gonna ask one more thing that I love to ask all the people I interview. So, at the
Okay.
end of the podcast, I always love to dive deep into an experience maybe that you had with a substitute, or something that can inspire sub managers out there to just think outside the box. Maybe go above and beyond, have a recognition program, send thank you cards, whatever it may be. What is maybe some advice that you want to share with sub managers out there, or a story that you'd like to tell about an experience that has changed your perspective?
Sure, sure. Um, there's so many experiences. I wish I could just pick one,
You can say
because
2 if you want.
you can but I have to say, like, it's I don't know if this is the one to share, I guess, because I think to myself, I have grown so much as I'm sure that the substitutes have grown as
Mhm,
well, right? And as long as you have good communication and more importantly, like build that trust in those first 10, 15 minutes that you meet with them so that they feel welcome, so that they feel confident, that they feel good about
mhm,
this role that they're going to take on, I think that is so crucial to their onboarding process. But I also feel that on the other end, right, maybe when things don't go so well, is right, the letting go. That's the other part that can be challenging. But I also feel that you have to just, be clear. If you're always clear in your communication and just very transparent in regards to this is why these things didn't go well, and we have to be careful with this. Um, and then be able to have those difficult conversations with people, it actually in the end all ends up working in your favor because if it was their warning or whatever you may call it, it helps them like see like I got it, I now they become a better sub for you.
mhm,
And I know it sounds so funny, but it's true. Then all of a sudden, that's when they start calling you, "Hey, Miss Sophia, this happened X, Y, and Z." I'm like, "Not a word, don't worry about it. It's all good." But they feel this comfort in just picking up the phone and calling you in the event of anything, or if they have questions. So it further builds that relationship with your substitute pool. Um, there have been fun times and hard times in being a substitute manager, but I think overall, it's the growth that's the most fun of all, right? It's the
mhm.
best experience both for them and for myself, in the entire process, so
I love that. I love that. And every time I talk to you, I feel the warmth. So I can only imagine how your substitutes feel when they talk to you on the phone or in person. So thank you for everything you do. Congratulations again on being the substitute manager of the year. It could not have gone to a better person. The fact that you
Thank
not only
you.
think outside the box, you go above and beyond, but you have the warmest heart. And I can feel it through the computer screen. So thank you so much for being on the Substitute Scoop with me today. And I'm excited to let our listeners learn a little bit from you like I have. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Jamie, honestly, and thank you to Red Rover and the whole sub council because it is quite the honor. It was an amazing surprise. It's been an amazing January, to be honest. So today, I've had a very it's just been a fun experience,
Mhm.
and I hope that that future sub manager recipients, experiences because it is really nice, right, to be recognized not just by all of you, of course, but by your peers, right,
Mhm.
by your HR team, and they are just a wonderful group, a wonderful team. So
Yeah.
thank you for this entire experience.
Thank you for all that you do. Yeah. All right. And that's the Substitute Scoop.